well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Again, I am Dr. Sharonda Banks, and I'm ecstatic to be here with you all today. Today, we're really going to be talking about a term that I call it radical preservation. How can we radically take care of ourselves? And so, not just self-care as a buzzword, but a way of living and leading that keeps you whole while doing really this demanding and meaningful work that we do every day. Helping professionals, they're often expected to really like just hold it all together all the time, to be the calm in the storm. But here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you shouldn't have to pour from that cup. Over the next hour, we're going to name the real risk, unpack practical strategies, and create a plan that's going to be doable for your life. This is about protecting your capacity, honoring your limits, and leading with intentionality. So, really, who am I? How can I even talk about this, right? And why does it matter? So, I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. So, I have 22 years of combined social work, therapeutic, mental health, and teaching experience. I am a lecturer and practicum education coordinator at UNC Charlotte. And I am the founder and clinical director of My Baby, which is a group practice called Intentional Steps Counseling Services. So you'll hear me say that word a lot because I do believe in navigating space intentionally. I am also, I've obtained my DSW from Simmons University in 2025. Can y'all tell that's this year? I just graduated, which I'm super excited about. I have my master's degree in social work from Norfolk State University. I graduated there in 2003, and I have my BS from Old Dominion University in 2001. I am a licensed clinical social worker in North Carolina and Virginia, and a licensed independent social work clinical practice in South Carolina. So all both of that is saying, as you all know, is that I'm licensed to do clinical work. I'm also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And out of all the things that I said, the best things about me is that I'm a mom. I have real life children. I have a 21-year-old college senior who will be graduating this year, and I have an 18-year-old college freshman, which all that says to me is that I'm entering into empty nest life happily, but with a sad heart that my babies will be gone. So before we really dive into everything, let me share my why. So why does it matter? So I've shared that I'm a clinical therapist, a professor, and an owner of a group practice. I've been doing the work for over 2 decades, and all of that is great. I know what it's like to love what you do and still feel super depleted at the end of the day. I've lived through those blurred boundaries, those 60-hour weeks, and the pressure to keep smiling while running on fumes. I've also done the work to recover, to create systems that keep me healthy, and to mentor others to do the same. This isn't just a workshop for me, it really is live practice. I'm not just sharing what the research says, I'm sharing what I know works because I've applied it in my own life. And I've seen it change the lives of people who I train and who I mentor and who I serve. So here's what we're headed to do today. First, we'll identify the signs of burnout and compassion fatigue that shows up in the helping profession. Second, we'll explore 4 evidence-informed strategies that work in real life. Finally, we'll each create a personalized resiliency plan grounded in your boundaries, your values, and the reality of your day to day. I want you to leave this session not just feeling inspired and feeling like pumped up, but I want you to be equipped. This isn't about perfection, it's really about sustainability. And I really honor the fact that many of us are navigating from spaces that limit our ability to truly feel safe in group environments. So, what I'm committing to each one of y'all today is the ability to create a brave space that's going to allow you to be able to engage fully, to share your truth, and to navigate these different strategies. So let's take a quick energy check real quick, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I barely made it in here today, and 10 being I could run a marathon and keep going, where are you right now? Drop your number in the chat and remember, it's no judgment. This is just about noticing a snapshot. And awareness is really the first step towards that preservation. So let me open the chat and see where y'all are. Okay. Some fours. Oh, y'all going quickly. Okay. Some eights, fours. Fives. Okay, we midpoint. Some twos, some threes. Okay, we're a little bit all over the gamut, and I think that's okay. So I want you to be intentional in your space and remember where you're starting at with your energy level. So, with the helping profession and with helping professionals, we hold a lot, right? We carry more than just what our job descriptions say. We carry the emotional weight of the people we serve and the work just in itself, and our emotions, and also the ripple effects of systemic challenges. And sometimes that unspoken expectation that we're just available all the time. So, over time, that weight that we carry, it can show up in our bodies, it can show up in our sleep. It can show up in our mood and our sense of purpose. So if we don't take the time to address it, it can really lead towards that burnout. It can lead towards that compassion fatigue. So burnout versus compassion fatigue. So burnout builds slowly from chronic stress. So things like exhaustion, being cynical, and feeling like nothing you do can make a difference. That's what we're looking at when we talk about burnout. Compassion fatigue, it can come on fast. It's sort of like the emotional residue from caring deeply for people in crises. So the distinction between the two really matters because how you recover is going to depend on which one you're facing within that moment. So let's discuss some of those differences between the two that's in the chart that I have up on the screen. So, the primary cause of compassion fatigue is going to be things like repeated empathy based exposure to trauma and distress in clients and patients. While in burnout, that's going to lead more towards ongoing high workloads, lack of control, and workplace stressors. The onset of compassion fatigue, that can occur suddenly after some intense exposure to distressing situations. While burnout is more gradual, it develops over time due to chronic stress. The symptoms of compassion fatigue, when you look at it from an emotional space, that's going to be things like feeling overwhelmed by others' pain, being irritable, some emotional numbing that you may be experiencing, and reduced empathy. While burnout could feel more emotionally like being detached or being cynical, having a loss of motivation and having feelings of helplessness. The symptoms from a physical standpoint are going to be you're feeling tired all the time, very fatigued, maybe experiencing some headaches, muscle tension, having some sleep disturbances. While with burnout, that's going to look more like having chronic fatigue, right? That fatigue is happening all the time. Because remember, we have that gradual and slow buildup. Having frequent illnesses, so it's happening somatically within your body, having changes in your appetite or changes in your sleep pattern. From a professional standpoint, those symptoms can look like from the compassion fatigue, decreased compassion. So you don't feel as compassionate as you normally feel. Having difficulty engaging with your clients. So where you would typically be able to relationship build and begin to build that space, it's feeling harder to be able to engage. From that burnout, you're going to have less productivity. So the work that you're typically doing, it doesn't feel as easy. More errors. You're having more areas in how you're facilitating your work, how you're doing your documentation, and just overall decreased job satisfaction. Where you love to come to work, now you're dreading it. You wake up with a sense of dread to kind of go into work. What prevention and management would look like from a compassion and fatigue standpoint could lead into peer support. It could lead into supervision, having trauma-informed self-care practices, and setting boundaries would be great. From a burnout standpoint, you might do some adjustments with your workloads. You'd rest more. You would have workplace culture changes, so something happening within that space, and having some stress management techniques. So that's a little bit about the difference between the burnout versus the compassion fatigue. So that checking in on yourself, having those early warning signs. Now, these are going to be some of those signs that let you know that your capacity is just running low. So here are some that we can look at from a physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral signs. So physically, some early warning signs could be persistent fatigue even after you've taken a nap or even after you rested, having more frequent headaches or much muscle tension, changes in your sleep patterns. You're either have insomnia, so you can't sleep, or you're oversleeping. You're supposed to get up and you're like, oh, I can't believe I slept over today. Changes in your appetite. You're either overeating or undereating. You have increased susceptibility to colds or illnesses. So where you didn't get sick a lot, now you feel like your nose is running more. You're just not feeling well. Or you're feeling heavy or sluggish during the day. Some emotional signs could be irritability or having short temper over small issues, feeling overwhelmed or anxious more often. Numbness or lack of enthusiasm for things you normally enjoy. Increased sensitivity or tearfulness. Difficulty in finding joy or satisfaction in those daily wins. Feeling disconnected from your purpose or disconnected from your passion. Your cognitive signs could be just problems with focusing or concentrating. You're more forgetful, or you have frequency in losing track of details. Those small problems you begin to overthink. Lots of increased negative self-talk or self-doubt. Those difficulty with making decisions, having that mental fog and feeling a little scattered. Some behavioral signs would look like avoiding responsibilities or procrastinating more than usual, withdrawn from your friends, withdrawn from your family, withdrawn from your colleagues. Maybe you're starting to skip breaks or your meals and you're just trying to push through. I'm just going to try to get through it. I'm not going to eat today. Overcommitting yourself despite knowing that you feel drained. Neglecting those self-care routines. You know, you get up and you plug in self-care and you're like, well, I don't have time for that. So you don't push into it. Increasing your reliance on caffeine and on sugar or other quick boosts to keep going, right? You say, hey, I'm going to get a energy boost drink real quick. I'm going to go and get me some coffee. And where you used to get coffee one time a day, now you're getting coffee four times. You get in the morning, afternoon, you're going to get a little snack and something in the evening as well. So those are just some examples. So what I want you to share are what are some of your personal signs that your capacity is running low? And which of these tend to show up for you first? So if you feel comfortable, drop it in the chat, and let us know what that looks like for you. Let me open the chat real quick. Awesome. Relying on those Red Bulls. Yeah, those Red Bulls. What I'm learning is my cousin drinks Red Bulls and she does Red Bulls and Pepsi. So I feel like it's a double dose of caffeine. Wonderful. Let's see. Going, let's see. Going to bed very early. Yes. Negativity and irritability, short patience, increased pain, avoiding tasks. Wonderful. Feeling overwhelmed and anxious, that irritability coming up again. Grounding yourself with rain sounds. Being tired but not being able to sleep. Wonderful. Overcommitting is a way of compensating for the cognitive signs. Absolutely. Crying more, so having more emotional reactions. Physical, then irritability is usually first. Wonderful. Tired, lack of enthusiasm. Wonderful. Short fuse, fatigue, irritability, great. Crying spells and increased forgetfulness. Wonderful. What you have to know is as you are aware of these early warning signs, this is your data to know when it's time to reset. When you start to feel this, when you start to notice these physical signs or the emotional signs or the cognitive or behavioral signs, those are those moments to know something is happening with me and it is time for me to reset. It's really your body's early alert system, right? You know how they talk and they say this is the early alert system that something's happening in the world. This is your early alert system for your body that this is the point that you need to intervene. There is something that I need to do for myself before this transitions into something bigger. So now what? So now that we've talked about being aware, knowing what's going on with ourselves, what this looks like, what do we do with that? Now we're going to lead into some strategy talks. So our first strategy is boundary mapping. So boundaries, they define where you end and where others begin, right? They're about more than just saying no. They're about consciously deciding what you are willing to say yes to. Every yes you give is a choice to invest in your energy, to invest in your time, and in your attention. So, boundaries, they really act as a personal map guiding where those resources go. Boundaries is probably the toughest thing that we can do, right? Now, what we do as people easily is we can say, "Oh, I don't want anybody to violate my boundaries. This is what I really feel like my boundaries look like." But where we struggle is accountability. So we tend not to hold people around us accountable to what our boundaries look like. So the boundary mapping, it helps you be really clear first on your limits, right? So what drains you? What recharges you, and what's non-negotiable. I have lots of non-negotiables because remember I told y'all I'm talking from lived experience. I love setting a good boundary. And when I set that boundary, what I do is I figure out what I need, I figure out what the consequences are if somebody violates my boundary, and then I hold them accountable because I let them know that this is what the boundary looks like. And so because of that, I have strong non-negotiables. What the boundary mapping also do is it allows your values to kind of show up. It ensures your commitments align with what matters most to you. It also allows you to be clear on your relationships. So identifying where healthy connections exist and also where energy leaks might be happening for yourself. So when you think of boundaries, I want you to think of boundaries like lines on a map. Some are permanent borders, while others are flexible and can shift depending on the terrain, really depending on where it is. So a reflection I want you to have right now is think of one boundary you need to reinforce this week and write it down right now. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that before we move to the next strategy. And I want you to consider how you'll communicate and protect it. This becomes your very first pin on your personal boundary map. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about what that looks like. That one boundary you need to reinforce for this week. Write it down. Consider how you'll communicate and protect it. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to share out with us what that boundary feels like for you. You can put it in the chat or you can raise your virtual hand and I can take a few in this moment that we can share out. Let me open up the chat. So I think I see one taking lunch and breaks. Wonderful. Office scheduling too many intakes. I need to let them know. Uh-oh, because you're always talking to me to give you more than one. Absolutely. Leaving on time, setting office hours for staff, loving the open door policy, but being able to that causing you to spread yourself too thin. I see them coming in. And I love that y'all guys are identifying what the boundary is. Make sure that you're also identifying how you're going to communicate and protect it. That is the biggest part. I think, like I said, we can lean into setting the boundary easily. We can say, this is too much for me. This is too much for me to do, but that accountability and the consequences, that is where we struggle. So definitely lean into how are you going to communicate it and how are you going to protect it. I love the boundaries I see that are coming in here. Absolutely. I love that I see personal boundaries coming in, and I also see professional boundaries. Wonderful. Let's get into strategy two, which are energy audits. This one I love because what we tend to forget is leaning into what restores me and what drains me. Not all tasks or people are going to cost you the same amount of energy, right? Some fuel you while others quietly drain you every single day. So an energy audit is like checking your bank account, right? But instead of looking for money, you tracking your mental, emotional, and physical energy. So what energy audits will do for you, they're going to help you spot patterns. So it'll identify which environments, activities, or people consistently drain you versus those that really pour into you and recharge you. It'll also help you make really informed choices. So it'll allow you to decide where to invest your energy based off of what truly matters. It also will help you plan proactively. It'll allow you to schedule restorative activities before and after high draining commitments. So there are some things that's going to be outside your circle of control, right? And you like, I'm going to have to do it, and I know it's going to drain my energy. Well, if you're planning proactively, then you can plan before I go in there, I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to give myself what I need so I feel super balanced. And then afterwards, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to let that vitamin D recharge me while I'm listening to my favorite song, right? You can be really, really proactive and to determine what you need. So think of your energy as a currency. You can spend it, save it, or invest it. And an audit shows you where it's leaking and where it's multiplying. So, a reflection I want you to have is in the chat, drop one thing that fills your cup and one thing that empties it. And over time, you want to start tracking these and you use the patterns to guide your energy budget, giving more to what restores you and less to what depletes you. So, what do you feel like really gives you energy and gives you life? And what do you feel like drains you pretty consistently? Church, wonderful. Audiobooks, drama at work, absolutely. Nature walks, feeling, laughing, and having fun with family. Overwork, drainage, absolutely. Working out fills me. And I'll tell you how to push it even further. Who drains you, right? Think about the people that are in your circle that are draining. When they walk up to you, you can feel that dark cloud just over, and you like, oh, this is going to drain me so much, versus those that you're around that really pours into you. Wonderful. Keep pouring into the chat. But we're going to move into our strategy number three. Strategy number three is our value-based alignment. So, value-based alignment is defined as the practice of ensuring your work, decisions, and daily actions reflect your core beliefs and purpose, creating a sense of meaning and reducing emotional strain. So when you work in alignment with your values, you use less emotional energy and experience more fulfillment. That's how it feels for you. It's like when you're swimming with the current instead of against it. So you're still putting in the effort, right? But it feels easier, it feels more natural, and it feels more sustainable. So the value-based alignment, this is going to help you clarify your why. So knowing what drives you and ensures your work feels purposeful and not just productive, right? It's also going to help you reduce friction. So when your actions match your values, you expend less mental and emotional energy battling inner resistance, right? You don't have that inner resistance that's saying, I don't know why you're doing that. What does that look like? Because it's already in alignment to your values. It's also going to help you sustain motivation. So the alignment fuels long-term engagement and resilience, even during challenges. So your values act as a compass, right? So it points you towards work, it points you towards relationships and environments that support your well-being. So when you drift from them, it's like navigating without a map. So it becomes exhausting, it becomes confusing and really easy to get lost. So it's imperative that you're able to align into what that value-based process looks like. So, in reflection, here are some reflection prompts I want you to think about. What are your top three core values? Take a moment and jot that down on your paper, whatever that is. What are your top three core values? So, after you think about your top three core values, in what ways do your current work align with with your value systems? How does it reflect and honor those values? Now, where is the greatest gap between your values and your daily actions? And then think about what is one small step you can take this week to close that gap. So, we're thinking about those top three core values, and these are really going to be those principles that guide your work and it really guides your life. And then, in what ways does your current work and your daily responsibilities really reflect and honor what those values are? And then lastly, what is the greatest gap between your values and your daily actions? And then how can you navigate that with a small step this week? Wonderful. I see some things coming in the chat. Wonderful. While you guys are looking at that, there's a question that's in the chat that I would like to answer. So Christy said, what if there is a lack of alignment between what the system asks or demands from you and what you know is right for you and the client? That is a great question. And I don't know if I'm gonna say the politically correct thing to say or not because I am such a disruptor. I believe in disrupting systems. And so I think what you have to do is you first align into whatever your ethical standard says for your practice. And as you're aligning with that, if it is against what the system has in place, then you have to use your voice and you have to speak up. Our clients, most times, are in spaces that they don't know how to advocate for themselves. They don't know what that process looks like. And we're modeling that for them. We are being their voice. And we have to remember with that space of being their voice, there are sometimes we're going to lean into having uncomfortable conversations. We're going to lean into advocacy that is not the norm. And we have to be okay with that. So I am absolutely okay with being the one that disrupts the process because in that disruption is allowing something to be said that most people do not say, and it could lead to a change. So I hope that answered that question for you, Christy. Thank you. Wonderful. I see more coming in. Good trouble. I love it. Wonderful. It looks like a lot of y'all had that question in reference to what Christy shared. So I hope the feedback was what was needed, but I definitely want to empower you and encourage you. Y'all go out and be disruptors. Y'all disrupt this system. And when it comes to resiliency and when it comes to self-care, remember that there are systems in place that they are not able to operate if we were not in a space that we weren't able to self-care. So when we're self-caring and when we're navigating from a space of resiliency, what we're doing is that's a way to be disruptive and that's a way to be able to make change as well. Wonderful. Let's get into strategy number 4. Look at my frog chilling. He is doing a micro rest, right? He is resting himself. So when we think of resting, typically, we're thinking about taking a nap. We're thinking about going on vacation. But guess what? You don't have to wait for a vacation to rest. Rest can happen in small, intentional moments throughout your day. So these micro breaks is what I like to call them. They act like quick resets for your mind and body, allowing you to return to your work more focused, more grounded, and really energized. So micro rest practices, they help you first break the stress cycle. So these short pauses, they can interrupt tension before it builds into burnout. So if you look at it from like that stress cycle or having those really big emotions, I don't know if y'all guys have heard of the hand brain model, but typically in that moment, you didn't flip your lid, right? Your lid has flipped. Your prefrontal cortex is no longer online, so you don't have the ability to critically think. And now we are sitting in our survival mode and in our emotions. So we show up from a space of fight, flight, fear, or freeze or fawn, right? And so what this micro rest does, it interrupts it a little bit, right? And in that interruption, it could allow your prefrontal cortex to come back online. And now you have the ability to critically think again. And you can jump back into the fray, right? You can jump back into the work, into whatever you were doing within that moment that initially started the stress. The micro rest practices, they also help you boost your focus. So even if you have just a 1 or 2 minute reset, it can clear that mental clutter and that mental fog that happens and kind of sharpen your attention, right? It allows you to be able to ground yourself. And something that I found within myself whenever I would try to lean into micro rest, I felt guilty, right, y'all? Like I would sit down and I was like, there's something I should be doing. There's something I should be leaning into right now. And the reality is, Yes, what you should be doing is micro resting, right? And so you have to operate from a space of giving yourself permission to be able to rest, right? To be able to sit in that reset. The micro rest practice, it will also help you support your just overall well-being. So when you consistently micro rest and lean into those moments, it signals safety to your nervous system. That's what I just talked about, right? It signals that safety to your nervous system and it lowers the stress response, right? And then when you have those moments that you're able to check in on yourself, right? Like, so I navigate from a space that I'm always saying, Sharonda, how you feeling, girl? You feeling okay today? What do I need to do for myself? So in that moment, what it's allowing is allows me to be able to regulate myself and regulate that nervous system. And sometimes you got to be quiet and still to be able to even know that you're not okay and to know that I'm not feeling okay. So suggestions I have are if you don't naturally micro rest, build it into your calendar. We honor our calendars, and I really believe in the space of block scheduling because we honor it. If it pulls up on a Google Calendar and you get that 10-minute warning that I have this going, what do? We whatever we doing, we stop doing. We say, okay, I got 10 minutes to a meeting. I got 10 minutes to do this. Do some block scheduling and block in some micro rest time. If you typically know midday at your job, it gets a little hectic and you get overwhelmed, well, throw it in during that time. That's some intentionality, right? You're doing it on purpose. So think of these micro rests as sips of water throughout the day. So instead of waiting until you're dehydrated and you're about to pass out and you got a headache because you're tired, do these small frequent acts that will keep you well nourished. So we're going to try one together right now. And so I invite you to participate in what I'm going to read out. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and inhale slowly through your nose for a count of four. One, two, three, four. Hold it for a count of two. One, two. And exhale gently through your mouth for a count of six. One, two, three, four, five, six. Feel your shoulders drop. Notice your heartbeat slowing. This is the power of micro rest. It's simple, it's accessible, and it's effective. So I'm gonna put on the screen some examples of some rest practices. So, a 2 to 5 minute breathing exercise. So, I'm gonna tell y'all, deep breathing is my jam. It is my thing. I do it all the time. When I teach deep breathing, I always get, it don't work. It don't work. It don't work, right? Well, it doesn't work because we don't practice it. And so, we have to train our brain that what we're doing in this moment is we're trying to relax. And then we have to be able to practice it. So, doing a quick 2 to 5 minute breathing exercise for me, it makes me feel like I don't know if y'all seen that like at a car dealership, that little wiggly man. That's how I feel. I get decompressed and I wiggle on down. Stepping outside for fresh air, right? That is get some natural vitamin D and it gives you a moment just to breathe. And what I would also say about the fresh air, if it leans into a walk, make sure it's a mindful walk so that you're able to be really present in the moment. Some gentle neck and shoulder stretches. Something that's really great for that is progressive muscle relaxation, right? From the top of your head all the way to your toes. And every time I do it, when I do my shoulders, it starts cracking. I'd be like, oh, I hope nobody heard that because it's like snap, crackle, pop on my shoulders, but I know I need it within that moment. Listening to one calming song, so something that makes you feel calm, that's intentionality. Sipping a glass of water mindfully, right? So as you're sipping the water, how does it feel going down your throat? Is it cold? Is it lukewarm? Is it hot? Can you feel it going down your chest into your stomach, right? Allowing yourself to be present. Some brief journaling or gratitude check-ins. You can do that throughout the day. Like kind of how I said I start my day. I'm like, how you feel, Sharonda girl? You feeling okay? Kind of starting with that space, maybe ending on the day on a gratitude check-in. How grateful do I feel? What is one thing that I could be grateful for the day? Wonderful. So we went through the four strategies, right? So now we are going to lean into building a resiliency plan. So let me copy the link. I'm going to put it into the chat, and I really hope y'all can open it. Give me just a moment. Okay. If somebody could try to open it, I need everybody to open it to have access, but if someone could try to open and let me know if you have accessibility to the document. It opens. Thank you, Kadeja. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm going to open it on the screen as well. And hopefully you can see it. So now we're going to bring all of this together. So on the template that I shared with you, and that's on the screen in front of you, the way we're going to navigate is in the first section, you're going to write one boundary you're reinforcing. So something that will help you protect your time, protect your energy. And then in the second, you're going to name one energy practice you'll commit to doing to protect yourself in your day or in your week, right? And then in the last section, you're going to identify one concrete way you'll align your work with your values. And so this is going to begin to build your personalized resiliency plan. It's going to be a simple living document, right? So I say living because you'll be able to update this, correct it. When you feel like that boundary is solid and you don't need to do anything else with it, put a new one in there. It is always an opportunity to create a boundary, and you can just adjust it as your needs shift. Once we get an opportunity to complete this, I would love to have you all share out. I would love to hear your voices. Sometimes I hear my own voice all the time, but I can take maybe two or three or a few that can share out just your commitment to yourself and what that looked like. So let's take a few minutes to be able to begin to build. I think if you try to type in the document, you can maybe make a copy of it, but if not, you might need to do it on a piece of paper. Let's see. You're welcome, Crystal. While y'all doing it, I'm gonna try to catch up in the chat for a second and see if there's anything that any questions or anything that popped up. So I'll give y'all a few minutes to really lean into this. Wonderful. I love that y'all lean into micro rest and that y'all like the concept or put a name to something you were already doing. I think that's phenomenal. I love that we are naturally grounding ourselves with nature. That is awesome. Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. So I'll give it a few more minutes. And if you are feel comfortable, you could just raise your virtual hand and I can get us started as well. I got tons of boundaries, y'all. I promise, tons. I'll give a few more minutes. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So if you feel comfortable or you would like to share out, you don't have to go through the entire resiliency plan, but you can maybe share an energy practice that you would like to implement. If you want to put it in the chat, you can do that as well as another option. I'll share out first so I can get us going. So a boundary for me. a funny boundary. I do a funny boundary, not a serious boundary. So this is a personal boundary. So I love the movies. I love going to the movies. It makes me very, very happy. I will go by myself. But I also feel like if I spend 10 or $12 on the movie, I need to see it from beginning to end. So I like to be in my seats at the beginning and I stay into the credits. And then I say if I think it's going to be extra, a little extra something in there as well. So my family and friends, they know that I love the movies and I will leave you. I will. I will go in the movies without you. And so my family, if they're running late, if I'm going with them and they're running late, they will call or text me and they'll say, "Hey, we're coming. But we know we're going to be late and we know that you're going to be in your seat. So we'll just see you once we get in." And I say, "Absolutely. I'm going to be in my seat with my popcorn, right? Because that's my boundary. It makes me happy. If you late, it's going to irritate my soul. I'm going to be very upset and it's going to mess me up for my movie watching." So that's like a personal funny boundary. A more serious boundary for me is that I don't do disrespect. Well, I don't like disrespect at all. I just don't like it. And I know it makes me show up in a way that I don't like how it represents for myself. So a boundary I have is that I feel like if I am in a situation that's becoming disrespectful, I will step away. I'll just step away, I'll ground myself, and I'll come back to it. So what I typically will do is those that I know lean into a more disrespectful communication. I will say to them, I don't do disrespectful. I really don't if I perceive it to be disrespectful. So something that I will do is I will walk away. And I just want to give you a heads up if I tend to walk away. And I hold them and myself accountable because I do walk away. And I wear like little shawls like I have on right now. Sometimes I got to wrap me up in a shawl to get away, but that is something that I know I need to do for myself. And I allow myself to go ground. And that's a strong boundary for me. And it works. And then that is not an area that I have to worry about showing up in a way that I don't feel is professional or a way that I like. Wonderful. So I see some in the chat. Taking daily walks. Yes, with your puppy, that is awesome. As you're taking those walks, make sure you make them mindful. Feel how the ground feels on your feet, right? Taking lunch away from your desk. That's a good one. I had a hard time doing that. Or when I had my door shut, I still allow people to come in and chat with me. No. Hey, Christy, go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Do you
Hey,
hear me?
I can.
Great. It's not letting me do the video, but that's okay. You can hear my voice.
We can hear your voice. Absolutely.
So do you want me to go through the three, right?
You don't have to go through all of them. If you want to share out what your energy practice is, that would be fine. But if
Yes.
you feel comfortable going through all three, please do that as well.
Okay, quickly. For me right now, I'm setting up private practice after working so many years in nonprofit. So I'm very tempted to do like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., right? And I'm promising myself that I will not do that. That
Wonderful.
I need to set that boundary ASAP because I'm gonna burn out.
Absolutely.
My energy practices, I need to move more. I'm noticing sitting down a lot
Mhm.
as I'm working from home, and I need to move as you can imagine. We all need to and set a boundary and an energy practice to say no to foods or drinks that sometimes are offered that I don't like or they don't put energy in my body, you know?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's a thing that I need to be more forthcoming and not so polite
Yeah.
about, right? Um, yes. And the last one will be values will be more like yeah, the sort of like overcommitting, which is
Mhm.
connected, you know, to
Absolutely.
say more no. That's okay.
Yeah.
As a 50 plus woman, I want to say no. I'm not overcommit.
Absolutely. Christy, thank you so much for sharing and leaning into our space to share your truth.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
that is
Thank you.
phenomenal. And I really hold yourself to that, right? Hold yourself to your word.
Yes.
And if I can drop a little nugget to everybody, I know saying no is hard, and we always feel like we have to put a qualifier to it, right? We got to say no because blah, 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 blah. Y'all, we don't need no qualifier. It's just no, period. Just no, period. Because I don't want to do it. And so I know it feels uncomfortable at first, but I'm going to empower y'all. The first time you do it, you're not going to turn back from it because it's going to feel so freeing. And it's because it's okay to say no. So this resiliency plan, y'all, is for you and being able to navigate what that looks like. So how do you want to feel at the end of your work week? Because how do you want to feel? The way that you want to feel is going to be your anchor, right? It's going to be your anchor to your intention for yourself. And as long as you can lean into that, if you can say at the end of that work week, I want to feel accomplished, right? I want to feel productive. I want to feel happy. I want to feel rested. You can lean into that word. You can lean into that space, and that can help guide you throughout the week. That allows you to be in a space of being proactive and not reactive. And we all know that when we lean from a reaction, that's going to be emotionally driven. And again, we didn't flip our lid, right? And so now our cognition is not even on. So now we're talking and we're acting out of fear. We're talking and we're acting, and we're going to navigate into whatever our survival skill is. So if I'm a fight person, I'm coming out fighting verbally, I'm coming out fighting in my actions. So if you feel comfortable, throw it in the chat to share what is one word that can explain how you want to feel at the end of your work week. Oh no, hold on. Thank you. Can you see the slide now? Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me know. So, what is your one word that can express how do you want to feel? Fulfilled, absolutely. Accomplished, true to myself, absolutely. Centered. I want to feel authentic. Yeah, satisfied. Accomplished, yes. Job well done, energizing, absolutely. And as y'all guys are putting your one word in, I want you to hold on to that. Write it down somewhere, right? Put it in your phone, in your notes section of your phone. If you utilize your calendar, put it in there during your micro rest time, right? Because we're gonna build those micro rest in. Put it in there. So those are like gentle reminders, little nudges to say, don't forget you want to be accomplished this week. So what needs to happen within that space? Wonderful. Making a difference in clients' lives, saying no to others and yes to yourself. Absolutely. So, as we are wrapping up, I did make some resources for y'all, right? Because I told you I don't want you just to feel energized and be pumped up. I don't want you to be like, I am pumped up, Dr. Banks, and got me hyped. I want you to have some tangible tools that you can utilize. So, I'm going to put in the chat again. This is a Google Doc. Let's see. So I need y'all to tell me if you can open it. I think I worked it out so you could. And so inside this Google Doc, somebody can just throw in there if you're able to open and see what's in there. Hopefully you can. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm feeling technology savvy today, right now. I feel pumped up on this Friday that all my stuff is working. So, inside of that, you're going to find a burnout warning signs checklist, a burnout test, a burnout checklist and prevention strategies, a self-care wheel, and a resilience worksheet. So, I'm going to see if I can open it just so you can see it real quick. So this is what that burnout warning signs checklist looks like. You can just kind of check off if you're feeling it. And if you check three or more, that is early signs, right? That early warning system is happening and something needs to happen for you. So that's what that warning checklist looks like. The burnout test. This is what it looks like for you. You can just go through it. If you're a clinician, you can use some of these things in your clinical practice as well. And so you would just check off how you feel. So this is just a check-in. And what that total score is will let you know how close you are leaning towards burnout. Then we have a burnout checklist and prevention. This is a website and it has different strategies that you can pull from that I thought would be really helpful. It talks about prioritizing and delegating. I am in a space of delegation. Delegating tasks makes me really happy, even in things that I felt were too expensive or overwhelming, right? I lean into, does it give me value? So if the value is there, I don't mind doing it. So something I feel like people gatekeep on are people that are cleaners. I didn't know everybody had cleaners. I didn't know. I'm over here stressing y'all. I have a cleaner now. I see the value in it. And that is something that I do that I delegate a task out, right? So this just gives some great tips. You also have a self-care wheel that I put in there. And within that wheel, it breaks it down to different domains of self-care and it gives you different suggestions of how you can lean into that. And then the last is a resiliency worksheet. And when you open that, it also just gives you tools on ways to be more resilient and how to foster those spaces for yourself. And so it is another worksheet. I'm pretty sure there is a document that you can click on in here. It also has a really nice video. So these are just tools that you can have access to. Let's see. I think I saw something in the chat. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Banks. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we're wrapping up just to share some really important information with you all. I know we want our C credits, and there was some really great questions in the chat that were coming up. So I'll go ahead and share my screen to share this great.
So I'll stop sharing, Bonnie. I just wanted to share one last screen in case people want to connect with me. You can take a picture of that screen if you want, and those are all different ways that we can connect. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you all for creating space with me today. I had a phenomenal time.